Alright, so today's movie review is Alphaville from 1965, directed by Jean-Luc Godard. And so let me share some behind the scenes details about this film. So from IMDb, it is unknown who did the voice of the Alpha 60 computer. Well, what we do know is the person who was voiced, he wanted to remain anonymous, but he used a mechanical device that he would put over his throat, and his larynx to talk basically. You probably have seen that in videos and whatnot, but he wanted to remain anonymous, but it gave it a real scary robot. Well, not really robot sound, but it sounded alien for sure. So I think that's pretty interesting. But let's get into my thoughts on the plot. The plot, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't like it. I gave it a 2 out of 5, and the reason being, I didn't like the execution of it. I like pretty clear motives, goals, 3-act structures and whatnot. We're figuring everything out as we go along, which does work sometimes, but for me, there just wasn't enough to, kind of explain what's going on. And I don't mean you need to explain every little detail, but just as an example, at the very end of the movie, everybody was just spinning around except for our main guy here, and I was like, why? What's going on here? It was a little strange for me. Very avant-garde type story. I'm not the biggest fan of those, and that's why I gave it a 2 out of 5. I didn't have the best time with the story or enjoying it. Alright, so let's move on to the acting. So the acting, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I liked it. I like our main characters here. I thought they were great. I didn't like everybody else, though. I thought they were all really, really strange. And I didn't like that there wasn't real clear story, clear idea of what we were supposed to, interpret, what it's supposed to be. I guess it's a little too allegorical and too much like that for me. I like more clear cut. This is a good guy, this is a bad guy, right? This we don't really get that. We kind of do. But I just didn't like the acting. It reminded me a little bit of interpretive dancing. I'm not a big fan of that. So do with that what you will. Go ahead and rip me to shreds in the comments. But I like these two, but I didn't really like anybody else. It was hard to like anybody else. So that's why I gave it a 3 out of 5. Alright, the directing, I'll be honest, gave it a 2 out of 5. Look, I think Godard, he definitely has a vision. He definitely has an idea of what he wants to do. And I think that's great. I think we should have more creative people. It's just not for me. I don't like what he did here. It's like if I didn't like a type of ice cream, right? I like vanilla, right? This movie is, I don't know, bubblegum with sprinkle. Or whatever it is, right? I think that's a cool idea, and I like, color blue is interesting, but I just want vanilla, Does that kind of make sense? It was just a little too weird for me, and that's why I gave it a 2 out of 5. Alright, so for cinematography and special effects, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Look, I really liked it. I think he did really well here, camera work-wise, and the director of photography as well. Goddard did pretty well, but I like that. I like the setting. I love the noir-esque feel to it. Love the lighting. Looked amazing. But again, what was cool though is you're immersed into this world, and yet there's no real crazy sci-fi elements, but it is a science fiction film. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So 4 out of 5. Alright, for the music, I'll be honest, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's pretty generic. It fits the tone very, very well. Very forgettable, though. And that's why I don't think I would be able to pick it out from other scores. Alright, so then tallying that all up, that brings my score to a 2.8 out of 5, which I'm rounding to a 3 out of 5, just barely. That makes it a criticalist percentage of 56%. So, would I recommend this movie? Only if you really like art house experimental films. I think you'll enjoy it. Especially if you want to see something different. And it's definitely tame in the sense of weirdness. It's not like super, super bizarre. I think it's definitely a film, if you're interested, I think most people would be able to watch it. But it was just too weird for me, so I won't recommend it if you don't like films like this one. Alright. So now let's break down what the score will be on Critic List. So like I said, it's going to be 56%. Now, in regards to graphic language, nothing, just your very, very mild language, very tame. In regards to violence, there's some violence, but a lot of it is just more scary imagery than it is actual blood or anything like that. It's very, very, very tame. Nudity, sexual content, I think there's a bit more. There's a scene with a nude woman, and we don't see anything. She's facing away, but still, definitely blink and you'll miss it, but I don't think it was necessary to the story. It doesn't add anything, and I wish it wasn't in it. Added nothing to the story. At least for me. Alright, now moving on to political bias. This is definitely a left-leaning film for sure. Mainly because a lot of more experimental, more art house, I would kind of put more into that camp anyway. Because it's more open-minded and free-thinking and all that in that aspect. Like, more abstract, more artistic. I am not like that at all. I like more concrete, structured films, so this didn't work for me. Now, I understand where Godard is coming from, right? He's against commercialism, and his answer to it is kind of a more communal, more socialistic, communistic approach to it to get out of that, right? Which, ironically, though, if you look at history... Anyway, but for me, I think the way to get out of it is through religion and through having faith and whatnot. But again, that's just my opinion. If you have more of Godard's opinion, you'll probably appreciate it more. But it's not in your face at all. It's very tame. Like, I think most people wouldn't even really be able to pick up it's more left-leaning. Which is fine. I appreciate that. I appreciate films that aren't like overtly political. This is political in the sense of what will happen in the future if we let commercialism and all that override our cities and let artificial intelligence tell us what to do. Right? I think most people would agree that that's a scary thought. I think it's just people's different approaches to how we deal with it, how we fight with them. So, that's why it's that. Family friendly wise, not really. I think A, kids would be bored, and B, they'd also be horrified. It's kind of a scary film, a dark film, so I definitely don't think it's for kids at all. It's for adults, for sure. Now, entertainment value wise, not really, I'll be honest. It was a tough time getting through it. It's about 2.5 hours. Well, not like 2 hours 10. So it's not super long, but it was tough getting through, I'm not going to lie. But again, that's just me. Let me know what you guys think of it down below, and maybe I missed something that if I watch it again, but I don't really plan on it. But if I ever felt inclined to do so, and I have a different approach to it, maybe it'll be more enjoyable. But as of this time, I don't recommend it. And I didn't have the best time with it. Alright, well those are my thoughts on Alphaville from 1965, and that's today's movie review.